What's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for joining me on this morning talk. So, if you guys haven't heard, all the drama that's continuing on in the Middle East, it seems like ever since I was born, there's always something in the Middle East going on, right? That's directly affects the United States and the Western world, right? The Western nations. And of course, that's because our politicians destroyed our monetary system a long time ago when they allowed the international banking cartel to take over the printing the currency from Congress, which is supposed to be Congress's job. One of the few jobs they actually are appointed. They do everything else but what they're supposed to do, right? Like steal from us and launder from us, right? Well, when they brought in that Rothschild City of London central banking, we went off. The value of the United States currency started devaluing heavily. And so eventually they backed it with oil. They made it the world reserve currency to use for the trading of oil between nations, right? Because as the Industrial Revolution was blowing up, oil became the most important commodity on Earth. With gasoline, for cars and machines and stuff, the oil for the lubricants of machines and stuff, the oil for the plastic, right, that replaced like hemp and other like more environmentally safe ways of packaging and stuff, right? It was really plastics is really what was behind the push for oil big time, right? Not, yes, the combustion part of it, but everybody always forgets plastic, that, plastic's made out of oil, right? And look, we live in a plastic world, right? Almost everything's plastic, including a lot of humans now. See some of these clowns with like 50,000 like plastic surgeries. They look like damn aliens. I mean, sorry for this side note, folks, but when I was younger, I used to have a crush on Catherine Zeta-Jones. Remember when she did that movie with Sean Connery? I mean, she was so absolutely gorgeous. Just that dark, alluring look she had, the dark hair, dark eyes, just beautiful. And then she got plastic surgery done, and then I seen her the next time after that. It didn't even look like her anymore. I mean, I don't understand what's with these clowns that do this stuff. But anyway, sorry, that's a side note, folks. We'll move on. I don't do the pop culture thing as much, But yeah, so oil, right? So we're always embroiled in the Middle East for oil, even though the United States actually has some of the largest oil reserves on Earth. We just don't tap a lot of it. We just sell a lot of it off to China and other countries instead of utilizing it for ourselves. So, we could be totally, completely cut off from the oil of the world and only use our own. But no, we play the game with the oil cartels, with OPEC, and we allow them to dictate the prices and dictate the flow of the oil around the world. And there's a reason for that, folks. It's because the trade-off is that they use the dollar to do the trading in that end. So that's why. You ever wonder why we never get the frick out of the Middle East? It's because of the oil, dummy. And the reason for that is because our nation is slaves to an international oil cartel, just like we're slaves to an international banking cartel. Neither are part of our country, but both dictate to our country. And it brings nonstop misery and war as long as we're connected to these international cartels. See, folks, you ever wonder why I'm an anti-globalist so vehemently? Well, this is why. Because globalism always leads to tyranny. Now, I get it. Nationalism can lead to tyranny too. I get it. Like, there's a fine line, folks. I get that. Just like the argument between capitalism or socialism / communism, right? I get it. Like, all capitalism, crony, corporate fascist capitalism, corporate fascism, right? Which is essentially what our capitalism's turned into. It's the government who's deciding who the winners and losers are. Not too far from communism. But look, I get it, dude. Like, look, there are some good things about socialism, right? I mean, you should be able to use some of the wealth of a nation to take care of your elderly and those that can't work and stuff. I've never been like 100% capitalism's the only truth and the only good way to go. I get it. You need a little bit of socialism, but you got to control socialism too, because socialism turns into the government tyranny. It always turns into, I mean, look, every system, when it gets too radical, becomes government tyranny. Doesn't matter if it's capitalism, socialism, communism, they all do. Obviously, I'm not a communist, I'm not a socialist. I do tend to be more of a capitalist, but I'm more of a true free trade capitalist, not the corporate fascism we're under now, or the crony capitalism, you could call it. That's not true capitalism. It's not true free market. But anyways, folks, so we got this going on in, between Iran, Israel, and the United States. And if any of you were paying attention this weekend, which most of you probably, this stuff always happens on the weekends, right? Well, this happens to be a Monday right now while I'm filming this. Well, the Ayatollahs, those psycho inbred wannabe Muhammad heirs, right? Those worshippers of Nanar Sin, Allah, you could call them. They're calling now for sleeper cells all over the world in the Western nations to start committing it. I don't know how I can say this here on YouTube. Let's just say committing acts. If you get my meaning. We'll see if they let this fly. Yeah, they're going to be committing acts on our infrastructure, on all kinds of stuff. And they're trying to pull Russia and China and Pakistan onto their side. And they're trying to turn this into a World War III. Now, there is some good things showing, and that's that the actual government of Iran, which essentially bows down to the Ayatollahs, there is some, it looks like they're standing up to them a little bit. Now, are they going to be probably dealt with summarily? Probably. We'll see how that all plays out. We'll see what the Iranian military does. They may act on their own behalf too. So there is some chances here, folks, that this could still just, die down. And let's all hope for that, right? Because I'm telling you, this goes totally full kinetic, and Pakistan jumps in it. Now you got India jumping in on our side, then you got China and Russia jumping in on Iran's side, then yada, 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 right? Europe and the United States. I mean, look, folks, we don't want this. None of us do. None of us humans, unless you're a psychopath or a total idiot, ignoramus, that falls for government and media propaganda, nobody wants war, especially World War III. World War III, literally, folks, could be the end of it all, okay? The reset, the real reset. I mean, we don't want that. I mean, I don't get people, man. So, now you guys know, I always tell you guys, I've been teaching you guys this, and I know some of you are starting to understand it. You're starting to see it. It's hard. I've been passing on the information to you guys that the 99% will never see or understand. So it's hard to see what I've been teaching you guys. But I always tell you guys this. Look, all of this goes back to the beginning, to the Garden of Eden, to the creation, the hybridization of man, and goes back to that council of Anuna, the council of the Anunnaki, of the Elohim. It don't matter, whatever you want to call them, the Watchers. And that's all still playing out to this day. Their familial, man, I can't say the word right. Their own family infighting is spilling out onto the Earth chessboard, like it always has. I've told you guys, these guys are still in power behind the scenes. They're still pulling the strings of their human puppets, of some of their bloodline children, half human, right? Or maybe a little higher percentage of an Anunnaki DNA in blood than maybe the regular person has, because we all have it, folks. Look, we all have it. We're all a hybrid avatar. And I'm not talking about the spirit here, just the body, right? The flesh. But they've always used us as their pawns in their battles amongst each other. See, they play a game and we're just the fodder, okay? We're the pawns, okay? And it's been like this. And if you don't understand that, you'll never understand what's going on with world affairs. Because you're all caught up in this, that was all make-believe, and that, yada, yada, yada. You guys worship a lot of these gods through these religions that they founded to keep you ignorant and under control, to hide your divinity. So look, if you don't understand the beginning, you'll never understand the current or the future. And I know, I know when this always hits a nerve, because those that are religiously indoctrinated, they'll never, ever look at critically what I'm talking about. Because they just like put their fingers in the ears. Oh, yada, 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 I don't hear nothing. The Bible tells me this. My pastor tells me that. And then the Muslims, my Quran tells me this. My supreme leaders tells me this. Get rid of them. It's like, it's such a joke, folks. It's clear what you got going on. It's a battle between, it's a family. This is a family struggle. In fact, if you guys want to know. So what am I all talking about here? Well, as you guys know, obviously all the nations that have the bird of prey as their standard, like the United States, the eagle, right? You go all the way back to Rome, right, with the two-headed griffins, the eagles, the falcons. It don't matter. Whatever, every nation that has a bird of prey, that represents the clan of Enlil, the god of war, the commander of earth. He was also Ahura Mazda in the Zoroastrian faith. And why do you say is he connected to the eagle? Well, when he's shown in ancient depictions, he always has, well, for one, what's interesting, folks, he always has the Malta cross symbol on his chest. Wow, that's a deep one, right? The Knights Templar cross. And then he's always represented in a flying device that looks like an eagle, like with eagle wings. He's always represented with the eagle, with an eagle head or wings. That's why the Enlil clan is represented by the bird of prey. It's always been this way, folks. I've told you this, explained it many times. And he had a son. His eldest son was called Nanar. And then later on, he was called Sin. So a lot of people call him Nanar Sin. Now, you guys know, right, what sin means, right? Not sinning in the Bible, right? Like, oh, no, you sinned. No, sin means the moon. You ever wonder why the Islamics always have the crescent moon as their symbol? Well, that's because that was Nanar Sin's symbol. Okay? Sin. Nanar Sin. Get it? He was the moon god. The Sumerian moon god. His father was Enlil, who is also known as Yahweh in the Bible. Now, Nanar Sin has had a blood feud with his father for a long time. When his father had his other son, Ninurta, who is often known as Gabriel or Michael in the Bible, blow up Sodom and Gomorrah, because yes, folks, that was a kinetic attack on Sodom and Gomorrah, okay? It was a kinetic attack by advanced technology. Ninurta is always represented as the eagle too, because he was the flight commander of his father. He was the one who was the commander of the Anunnaki's flying ships, of the Vimanas spoken about in the Hindu Vedic texts, okay, folks? And he carried out the attack on Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, Sodom and Gomorrah, folks, if you do the research, you'll find that those city-states worshipped the god Sin, Nanar Sin, the moon god. You seeing the connections here, folks? Ever since his father blew up his cities, he's been in a blood feud with his father. And that's why you have the never-ending battle between the Judeans who worship Yahweh, Enlil, and his son Nanar Sin and his followers, the Muslims. You've always had this struggle. And then Christians got pulled into this because Christians are ignoramuses, and they actually believe that the Old Testament God is Jesus' father. They don't understand that Yeshua was speaking of the creator of all, the spirit of creation, right? The source of all creation. He wasn't talking about one of these warring gods walking the earth. He was talking about in a bigger way, in outside of this realm, right? You could say in this realm. Look, the creator of all incorporates all realms and all creation. But this realm was created as a diversion, as a separate experience. At least it gives you the illusion that you're separate from God, right? But the Christians got pulled into this whole ancient old struggle too. Because the Christians fall for the lies. They worship the devil. The devil is who? It's Yahweh. The devil's Yahweh. Don't you get it? He's the God of vengeance. The God of war. I do great good. I do great evil. I am the only God. Yet even many times in the Old Testament, he alludes to other gods. You shall not have other gods beside me. You should only worship me. What he's saying is like, look, there's other gods, but you're only supposed to worship me as your chief, supreme God. Don't you get it, folks? The Judeans, they picked one of the Elohim, okay, to be their God. Yes, Elohim, not the Trinity, the gods Elohim, okay? The Anunnaki, the Council of the Anuna. It's all in Genesis, folks. You've just been tricked. Simply tricked. I mean, really, when you read it, like, don't you make the connection there? The gods, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Then people are like, my body's created in the image of God. No, it's not, you dummy. Come on, man. I'm sorry, folks. I'm getting really irritated about this because I see this shit on the internet every single day. Christians are ignorant. They don't understand anything. I mean, come on, man. Go read Genesis. What does it say? Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? It's the Adam and Eve have become like us, like one of us. Well, who's the us? The we. Well, you look at in the wording, it's Elohim. Well, what does Elohim mean? It's El is God. Elohim is plural, the gods. My gosh, folks, come on, man. Your body, your human avatar is not made in the image of the creator of all. It's made in the image of the Anunnaki, the angels, the watchers, whatever the hell you want to call them. The spirit is in the image of God, okay? Let's clear that up. And that was the Father that Yeshua was teaching about, not Yahweh. He never once ever claims Yahweh as his Father. In fact, he tells the Sadducees and whatever the hell the other order is, that the orders of the time, right, of the Judeans' faith, right? He tells them, don't you know your father is the devil? He was telling them, like, look, who do they worship? Yahweh. So what's he saying? Your father Yahweh is the devil. Don't you know that? Even Revelation gives you this clue, folks. It says that, like, only, 144,000 is it, right? Well, the elect will be able to see through the lies and see the truth. Who the devil is, that everybody else will be tricked by the devil. And then Christians nowadays are like, I'll never get tricked by the devil when he shows up. Folks, the devil's already been here. You already were tricked. Don't you get it? You worship Yahweh, the devil. Come on, man. Why do you think the Bible says like that none would see the truth, hardly except for the elect. Well, that's why. Because you've all been tricked. You all fall for dogma. Okay? Religious dogma, the teachings of man, the lies of a book. You've all been taught it. But to be honest, I don't even know if the Bible's lying, because it tells you to your face that the human avatar was created by the Anunnaki in their image. It tells you that even in the Bible. But you choose not to see it. Revelation tells you that all Christians will be tricked by this God, this devil of this world, right? They will all fall for him. Well, they've already have. They worship him as the creator. So you've already fallen for the devil. I don't know how else to put this more plainly, folks. But now we are witnessing the old family strife between Nanarsin and Enlil, Yahweh. The same old, boring-ass, used-up old battle, just never-ending, using their humans as the pawns, right? And see, look, folks, the Anunnaki don't care. In fact, they would welcome a world conflagration. Because, why? Well, because it cuts down us, the amount of us, which makes it easier to control us. See, look, folks, if they can't do it through the jibby-jabbies, if they can't do it through our food, through our air, through our water, right? Fluoride in the water, the spraying in the skies, I mean, everything, dude. Look, if they can't control us that way, then they always resort to the last solution, war. And maybe if that don't work, they have a more more cosmic, way, right? Like we seen with the flood, right? A more final solution. And then if you go read the Atra Hasis, you start realizing, holy crap, we're literally repeating history. This has all been done, all been described, and we're just going through the same damn thing again. That's what it is, folks. And I keep explaining this to you guys. Look, it all goes back to the beginning. If you don't understand the beginning, then you don't understand anything. You don't understand current events, because all current events are a ripple effect of these hidden hands behind the scenes. It always has been. Trying to keep us from our divinity, trying to trick us. That's why their school systems that they designed and their religions that they designed keep us from the truth. That's why they don't teach you in school that you're a divine spark of source, that you're literally a god walking the earth in a human avatar body. No, atheist academia will tell you you are the body, that your mind, your thoughts, your consciousness is of the brain. Not separate. Not that the brain's just a receiver and a computer system that runs, an operating system that runs the body's subconscious actions, so that it allows the spirit to reason and to think about other things, right? Now doesn't have to control every little movement of the body. That's all on autopilot by the brain. It frees the consciousness up to experience this realm. Okay? It's like a car, folks. When you're driving a car, you're driving the vehicle. You're experiencing the drive and everything. It's changing your perspective as you're moving it around, right? But you're not sitting there consciously having to think about, okay, I got to make this part do this thing, that part do that. No, it all automatically does that. You got to start thinking of the brain that way, folks, because that's what the brain is. I mean, obviously, there's a spirit-mind connection, right? The symbiosis, right? I get that. But all in all, the avatar, the human body, is a machine. And the brain is the operating system. It's a receiver. It's an antenna. It's a transmitter. It's all of those things. But here we are. Everybody's arguing back and forth about were those strikes on Iran? Was it the proper thing? Wasn't it the proper thing? And now all of a sudden you have those crazy inbred Ayatollahs, those weird psychopaths that are like gonna push this shit over the line because they know that they're losing power, folks. Okay, they know that they could be overthrown. And what happens with tyrants when they know they're going to be overthrown? They'll destroy their own nation if they have to in their rage, just to try to hold on to power. They'll destroy everything in their path, and they don't care the repercussions, because that's what psychopaths do, folks. Okay? And I've already told you, all these leaders, religious leaders, governmental leaders, only psychopaths are driven to get to the top of the ranks, to the top of the ladder, so they can control other human beings. Only psychopaths do that. So you're talking about a bunch of inbred psychopaths. And then you got a psychopath in Israel, and you got psychopaths everywhere. Okay? I don't know, folks. I get so aggravated over this stuff, and I wish people could understand this stuff. I've tried to make this as simple as it can be. I made the connections for you. They're simplified. I haven't gone into every little detail about the cuneiform and everything. You don't need all of that detail. All you need to understand is, look, the simple things, right? That we are immortal spirits experiencing this realm by immersing ourselves into this vehicle, this human avatar body. And we got to understand that there has been battles going on using the human avatars as cannon fodder ever since. And that these gods war amongst themselves by using us, putting us in the middle of it. They never put themselves on the line, right? It's always us. It always reminds me of that, there was that old Def Leppard song, right? The Gods of War, War Gods, or something like that. As a kid, I always wondered why that song, resonated with me, so strongly. And now I realized, yes, you could call the humans that are pushing for these wars the gods of war too, right? But no, they're just puppets. They're carrying out orders, folks. They're the middleman, okay? We got to stop thinking of these guys as they're elected officials and they're this and that. No, man. Look, these guys are all placed there, folks. You're given the choice of who they want us to choose, okay? We always have been that way. And if the left can't get the job done, then they move the right in to come at it from a different angle to get the job done. And we're seeing that with the AI. If you guys watch my video I did on Saturday, I dropped it yesterday on Sunday. I was talking about the whole energy, push for energy, that all of a sudden now we got to start building power plants and all this so we can build up AI, right? So that AI can take us over, 100% surveillance and totally take over everything in our realm, right? But yet, we couldn't build power plants so that we're not paying ridiculous amounts for energy, right? No. It's got to be for the AI. Fuck you, humans. You guys are just... humans, you don't matter. We're here to push the AI, man. Come on, man. Get on board. I mean, telling you, folks, this stuff, man. It's so obvious. Am I the only one that sees this stuff? I don't know. Look, I've told you guys all before. It all goes back to the beginning. If you don't understand the beginning, you will never understand the current time, because we're still caught up in the war of the gods, okay? And most humans, regular, basic humans, right, that aren't part of these groups or these societies or these clans, or aren't totally propagandized, by some institution or another. Most people just want to raise their family in peace, in prosperity, so that they can enjoy this realm, right? You want to be able to see your kids grow up, see them, excel, right? Whether they go to college or not, maybe a trade school, don't matter. You want to see them excel in life, have kids of their own, so you can have grandkids and you can retire in peace without wars going on. And you want to be able to live in a world where we get compensated fairly for our labor, right? Proper energy exchange for energy, right? But we're not in that. We're in a parasitic system. Government's parasitic, banking's parasitic, education's parasitic, religion's parasitic. Everything is a parasite. Not only do we have parasites in our bodies, we got them on the outside too. We have them in our minds. We have them everywhere. They're always attacking us from all angles. And why do they have to do that, folks? Because we're ultimately powerful spirits. We're immortal spirits. We're gods. Don't you see? You have some gods in a different avatar body trying to rule over other gods that have incarnated in lesser avatar bodies, more limited avatar bodies. Okay? But we're all the same. We all are fractals of God. Even the Anunnaki, they're still source energy too, folks. Okay? They just happen to be residing in a more powerful avatar than we are. That's more connected to the higher dimensions. And they have the knowledge. We don't. They hid the knowledge from us. That's why Enki, he's called the bad guy in the Bible. Because he was trying to tell Adam and Eve, look, the truth. You guys are like one of us. Look, you may have this body, but you're not a servant. You're an immortal spirit just like we are. And that was dangerous. Enraged Enlil. He went into a rage over this, right? Kicked them Adam and Eve out of the garden. Kicked the serpent out of the garden. I mean, look, folks. You always wonder, why was the serpent in the garden to begin with, right? Why would God allow the serpent, if it was this great evil, in the garden to begin with? How would he not know? How would an all-knowing God not know that the serpent was slinking around in his garden to conversate with his servants, Adam and Eve, the gardeners, these naked gardeners that doing his bidding, right? Why not? Well, of course, because Enki was one the same as Enlil. He was an Anunnaki. He was his brother, folks. That's why Enki was in the garden. Okay? In fact, Enki was running the garden. It was the Eden was the garden where they were experimenting with the human avatar to create this worker slave class race. Okay? That's why the serpent was in the garden with Yahweh. Because they were brothers, folks. Okay? You ever wonder why in the book of Job, the devil's sitting on the right hand of, next to God, right? And like I said, right, you guys should know, right? These are not the creator of all. These are these Elohim, the little g gods, okay? Why are they both sitting by each other? Because they're brothers, Oh my God, folks, come on. They're playing a little game with Job. Hey, let's mess around Job. Let's see how faithful of a servant Job is. He's my most faithful servant. He'll never lose his faith in me. And then the devil, I'll take that bet with you, let me mess around with him. Okay, go ahead, do what you want with him. I mean, dude, they're brothers, okay? My gosh, folks, come on, let's wake up, okay? They're brothers. Oh, man, I tell you. Anyways, really the Bible's actually very simple, folks. Once you read the cuneiform and then you go back and read the Bible, you realize it's all the same stories, just remixed from the cuneiform, okay? That's it. It's, I don't know. Maybe I have a certain way of breaking all this stuff down, seeing the patterns, pattern recognition, but to me, it all makes sense. It's actually makes the puzzle piece for me, or the puzzle has filled in mostly for me. I see the puzzle, and it's crazy, and it spans thousands of years. Okay, it spans probably 7,000 years. I can see it now. When you start going back past that to Göbekli and all that, now it gets even harder because pre-Diluvian, we just don't have enough information. But I don't know, folks. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you guys see this too? Do you not see what's going on here? This real struggle going on, this father and son struggle within their own pantheon, right? Then our sin, the moon god, then Enlil, represented by the eagle, the falcon, the griffin, all the nations of the eagle, of the war bird, all lined up against this, these nations that fly the Nanar Sin's flag. And then, of course, you have the flags. You have the nations of this feathered serpent, of the dragon, right? The Eastern, the Chinese, okay? That want to get involved in this whole war, too. So, anyways, guys, we went over a lot. It's a Monday. I got to get to work here. Mondays are brutal, and I didn't get here as early as I would have liked. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it short. If you guys are interested in the one-on-one Zooms, hit me up in the messages. The information for that is in the description. And also my link to my new Facebook page until hopefully I can get the other one back. I may never, and that may be. But come join me over there. You can more easily get a hold of me there through Messenger, through Exit the Matrix Reborn. But the link's in the description also. So I'm going to go ahead and head out, folks. But I do want you guys to know I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And look, those of you that have been with me and you stick it out through my talks, and you, instead of getting angry with me and all that, but you just wait and you start doing your own research and you start listening to what I'm saying, I'm telling you, you're starting to see what I'm seeing. I've had a few of you even messaging saying, look, I'm starting to see what you've been talking about. Yes, because once you start cutting through that veil, like looking through that veil and cutting through the bullshit and making the connections, it all starts to make sense. Look, folks, I've been researching my whole life, and I've been heavy into this stuff since I was 16 years old. I'm in my mid-40s now. Okay, that's 30 years of looking into all this stuff, researching my whole life. And, it's crazy. But you start seeing the connections more easily. You start seeing through the lies and propaganda. So anyways, guys, hey, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good day.